I walked into the living room and froze. Nicole stood there shaking hands with a realtor in front of my dead grandmother's fireplace. The same fireplace where Grandma used to read me stories every Christmas. My eyes dropped to the coffee table. Sale papers. Official documents with signatures and dates. I scanned them fast, looking for my name. Nothing. Not a single mention of Melanie Quinn anywhere on those pages. My stomach twisted into knots. Nicole turned to me with this strange smile on her face. Not happy, not sad. Just confident. Like she'd already won some game I didn't even know we were playing. The realtor packed his briefcase and headed toward the door. He nodded at me like I was just some random person visiting. Nicole walked him out, their voices low and professional in the hallway. When she came back, she looked me dead in the eyes. Her expression was so calm it made my skin crawl. She crossed her arms and tilted her head slightly. Then she said the words that would change everything between us forever. It's not like Grandma ever promised it to you. I stood there trying to process what just happened. My hands were shaking but I forced them still. Nicole's face showed no emotion now. She looked almost bored, like this conversation was wasting her time. I demanded to see the documents properly. She waved her hand dismissively and picked up her phone instead. You're not the one grieving here, Melanie, she said without looking up. The words hit me like a slap. I'd spent 2 years caring for Grandma. Feeding her, bathing her, holding her hand through every doctor's appointment. Nicole visited maybe 3 times in those 2 years. Always with her phone out, always posting pictures for social media. Spending time with my beautiful grandma, her captions would say. But she never stayed longer than 20 minutes. Now she was grieving. I opened my mouth to argue but she cut me off. Her voice dropped lower, more threatening. If you're going to make this ugly, I'll just tell Mom and Dad you're unstable again. My blood went cold. She was talking about my breakdown in college. The one I had after working 3 jobs while failing classes. She knew exactly where to strike. Let me back up. My name is Melanie Quinn and I'm 27 years old. I was always the quiet one in our family. The responsible kid who did her homework on time and never caused trouble. Nicole was 3 years older and completely different. When Grandma got sick with cancer, everyone assumed Nicole would step up. She was the golden child, the successful one with the corporate job and the perfect Instagram life. But she didn't. I dropped everything instead. I moved into Grandma's house and became her full-time caregiver. I learned how to manage medications and change bedding and cook soft foods. I held her hand when she cried from the pain. Nicole sent flowers once. The expensive kind that die after 4 days. About 6 months before Grandma passed, we were sitting on the back porch watching the sunset. She looked so small in her chair, wrapped in blankets even though it was warm outside. She took my hand and squeezed it with what little strength she had left. Her eyes were serious, more focused than they'd been in weeks. You'll know when the time is right, she whispered. I've already taken care of it. Nicole's whole life was a performance. She was pretty and popular and perfect at everything. At least that's what everyone thought. She knew how to work a room, how to make people love her instantly. At Grandma's funeral, she wore the perfect black dress and cried at exactly the right moments. People hugged her and told her how strong she was. How devoted she'd been. I watched her accept their sympathy with practiced grace. She even gave a eulogy that made half the church cry. She talked about childhood memories and lessons Grandma taught her. Memories I knew were mostly made up. Lessons she never bothered to learn. After the service, people kept approaching her with condolences. They barely looked at me standing right there. I was invisible. The quiet granddaughter who didn't know how to perform grief correctly. But I knew something they didn't. Nicole cried for the audience. She cried for attention and sympathy and social media posts. I cried alone in Grandma's kitchen at 3 in the morning, washing the dishes she'd never use again. That was the difference between us. She performed. I remembered. 1 year before Grandma passed, something important happened. We were sitting on the front porch drinking sweet tea like we did most afternoons. The cancer was getting worse, but she still had good days. This was one of them. She suddenly stood up and went inside without saying anything. I heard drawers opening in her bedroom. When she came back, she was holding a small velvet pouch. Her hands trembled as she placed it in mine. Inside was a folded document. Old paper, official seals. I recognized it immediately. The original deed to the house. But when I unfolded it carefully, something was different. The name had changed. It wasn't in her name anymore. It was in mine. Melanie Quinn. Legal owner. My breath caught in my throat. I looked up at her with wide eyes, unable to speak. She smiled that soft grandmother smile I'd loved my whole life. This isn't in my name anymore, she said clearly. It's yours now. It's been processed and recorded officially. She placed both her hands over mine. Keep this safe, she told me. You'll need it someday. I put the velvet pouch in my purse and never mentioned it to anyone. 2 weeks after the funeral, Nicole organized a family meeting. She called it Discussing the Estate. Our parents, our uncle, even some cousins. Everyone was invited. Everyone except me. I found out about it when my mom accidentally mentioned it on the phone. Oh sweetie, I thought Nicole told you, Mom said, sounding confused. She said you were too emotionally overwhelmed to discuss financial matters right now. Emotionally overwhelmed. Those exact words. I sat there holding my phone, feeling the anger build in my chest. This was Nicole's first real move. She was painting me as unstable, incapable, too fragile to handle important decisions. And our family was buying it. They always bought whatever Nicole was selling. At that meeting, which I crashed uninvited, Nicole presented herself as the responsible one. The one who could handle Grandma's affairs with a clear head. She had spreadsheets. She had timelines. She had everything planned out perfectly. Our parents nodded along with everything she said. After the meeting, Mom pulled me aside. Her voice was gentle, pitying. Nicole says she's just trying to help, she said. Of course she did. I confronted Nicole the next day at her apartment. She opened the door looking annoyed that I'd shown up without texting first. I asked her directly about the house. About why she was making decisions without including me. She looked at me with this confused expression, like I was speaking another language. You're misremembering, Melanie, she said slowly, like I was a child. Grandma said she was considering leaving the house to you. She talked about it sometimes. But she never did anything official. The way she said it was so confident, so certain. That's what scared me the most. She actually believed her own lies. Or maybe she was just that good at lying. I wanted to tell her about the deed right then. I wanted to pull it out and watch her face change. But something stopped me. Some instinct told me to wait. To see how far she'd actually go with this. So I pretended to back down. I acted confused and uncertain. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. Maybe I misunderstood. She smiled and touched my shoulder. It's okay. Grief does weird things to memory. I left her apartment and decided not to fight. Not yet. I quietly visited Grandma's lawyer the following week. His name was Mr. Patterson and he'd handled her affairs for 30 years. His office smelled like old books and coffee. He remembered me from when I used to come with Grandma to sign papers. I asked him directly about the house. About the deed transfer. He pulled out a file without hesitation. Yes, the house was transferred to you via quitclaim deed, he confirmed, adjusting his glasses. 6 months before your grandmother passed. Fully legal and recorded with the county. She was very specific about her wishes. He showed me copies of everything. The signed documents, the notary stamps, the county recording. It was all there. All official. Does anyone else in the family know about this? I asked. He shook his head. Your grandmother requested complete confidentiality. She said you'd know when to use this information. I sat back in my chair, processing everything. Mr. Patterson looked at me seriously. If someone tries to sell this property without your permission, he said slowly, it would constitute fraud. Do you have reason to believe that might happen? I thought about Nicole and the realtor. The papers on the table. Maybe, I said. I went home and made a decision. I would say nothing. I would let Nicole believe she was winning this game. I would watch and wait and document everything. She made it easy. She started posting house hunting selfies online. Pictures of her looking at modern condos and trendy apartments. Captions like, new chapter coming soon, and, sometimes you have to let go to move forward. I screenshotted everything. Every post, every comment, every timestamp. I created a folder on my computer just for this. I watched her tell people at family gatherings about her plans. How she was going to sell Grandma's old house and use the money for something better. How it was time to move on. Everyone thought she was being so mature. So practical. I smiled and stayed quiet. The fire was building inside me, but I kept it controlled. I kept it hidden. Then one day I got a notification from a real estate website. Grandma's house was listed. Private listing, not on the main market yet. Nicole hadn't even told me. She just listed it like it was hers to sell. Perfect. Let her dig. An appraiser showed up at the house on a Tuesday morning. I was there cleaning out some of Grandma's old things. He knocked and introduced himself professionally. He said Nicole had hired him to assess the property value. I played dumb. I acted like I was just the helpful granddaughter sorting through memories. Come on in, I said cheerfully. Look at whatever you need. He walked through every room taking notes and photos. He measured spaces and checked the foundation. At one point he mentioned that Nicole told him the house was inherited by her as the primary beneficiary. I just smiled. Interesting, I said. Nothing more. He didn't notice anything strange. After he left, I immediately recorded everything in my documentation folder. Date, time, what he said about Nicole's claims. Then I did something calculated. I called the title company Nicole was using for the sale. I asked simple questions, pretending to be a concerned family member. Did they verify ownership? Did they run a title search? The woman on the phone was friendly and professional. She confirmed they were working with Nicole Quinn on the property sale. She had no idea who the real owner was. Our dad's birthday dinner was at a nice restaurant downtown. The whole family was there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone dressed up and happy. We ordered appetizers and wine. Dad gave a speech thanking everyone for coming. Then Nicole dropped her bomb. She stood up with her wine glass, looking confident and beautiful. I have some exciting news to share, she announced. Everyone turned to listen. I'll be selling Grandma's place soon to put a down payment on something nicer. A fresh start, you know. The table erupted in supportive comments. That's so smart, someone said. Good for you for moving forward, said another. Our mom actually had tears in her eyes. She reached over and squeezed Nicole's hand. That house has always been yours in spirit, Mom said. Right, Nicole? Nicole smiled and nodded. She looked right at me across the table. Her eyes were challenging me to say something. To make a scene. I just took a sip of my water and smiled back. I said absolutely nothing. Let her have this moment. Let her feel like she won. Dad raised his glass. To new beginnings, he said. Everyone clinked glasses. I clinked mine too. New beginnings indeed. Nicole started renovations without asking anyone. I drove by the house one Saturday and saw a contractor's truck outside. I walked in to find workers ripping out the wallpaper Grandma had picked 20 years ago. The delicate floral pattern she'd loved so much. Nicole was there directing everything with her phone in hand. "We're modernizing," she told me when she noticed me standing there. "Buyers want clean and contemporary, not old lady decor." I watched her paint over the wall near the kitchen doorway. The wall where Grandma had marked my height every birthday when I was little. All those pencil marks with dates next to them. My entire childhood measured in inches. She covered it with trendy gray paint. I felt something break inside me, but I didn't let it show on my face. She posted the progress online constantly. Before and after photos. Videos of the transformation. Her followers loved it. They commented with fire emojis and congratulations. She even started a hashtag. #FreshStart. I saved every single post. Every photo, every video, every comment. Let her erase the memories. Let her destroy what Grandma built. She was only digging herself deeper. I called my lawyer on a Monday morning. His name was Mr. Harrison and Mr. Patterson had recommended him. I explained everything. The deed, the attempted sale, Nicole's renovations. He listened carefully and took notes. "We need to act now," he said. "Before the sale goes through." We filed an ownership affirmation with the county. Legal proof that I was the rightful owner and had been for over a year. Then we served a cease and desist to the realtor Nicole was working with. The letter explained that Nicole had no legal right to sell the property. That any attempted sale would be fraudulent. We included copies of the deed and all the official documentation. The title company was notified. The sale was immediately frozen. Everything stopped. Mr. Harrison called me 2 days later. "It's done," he said. "The property is legally protected now. She can't sell it." I felt relief wash over me. But I also felt something else. Anticipation. Because I knew what was coming next. I knew Nicole's reaction would be explosive. I was right. She showed up at my job the next morning. Her face was red and her hands were shaking. She was furious. "What did you do?" she screamed across the office. My coworkers stopped working and stared. Nicole stood near the entrance of our office, breathing hard. Her perfect composure was completely gone. "You sabotaged me," she yelled. "You ruined everything. Do you know how much money I've put into that house?" I stayed seated at my desk. I kept my voice calm and quiet. "That's unfortunate," I said. I took a sip of my coffee. My hands were steady even though my heart was racing. Nicole started walking toward my desk. She was making a scene and she didn't even care. People were pulling out their phones. She pointed at me with a shaking finger. "You're jealous," she hissed. "You've always been jealous of me. You can't stand that Grandma loved me more." I almost laughed. Instead, I just looked at her. Really looked at her. "You're trespassing," I said simply. "This is a private workplace and you need to leave." She opened her mouth to argue, but building security was already there. 2 guards approached her professionally. "Ma'am, we need you to exit the building," one of them said. She looked around wildly. Everyone was watching. Some people were recording. She finally realized how she looked. Security escorted her out. I heard murmurs around me. "Isn't that her sister?" The family group chat exploded within an hour. Nicole had gotten there first with her version of events. She typed paragraph after paragraph about how I was jealous and unstable. How I was clinging to a house I couldn't even afford. How I was sabotaging her future out of spite. She painted herself as the victim perfectly. Some family members immediately took her side. "Melanie, this is petty," one cousin typed. "Let it go." But then something unexpected happened. Another cousin, Tyler, who rarely said anything in the chat, posted screenshots. Screenshots of a private conversation with Nicole from weeks earlier. In those messages, Nicole bragged about how she was going to flip Grandma's house for profit. How she'd already calculated the potential earnings. How she planned to use the money for a luxury vacation. She never cared about fresh starts, Tyler typed. She cared about money. The group chat went silent. Nobody typed anything for several minutes. It was the most suspicious silence I'd ever witnessed. Then people started quietly leaving the chat. One by one. Pop, pop, pop. The little notifications kept coming. Within an hour, 12 people had left. Nicole tried to defend herself, but nobody responded. The silence was deafening. Nicole tried a new strategy. She filed documents with probate court claiming Grandma had verbally promised her the house. She submitted what she called a supplemental note to support her claim. The note was handwritten on old-looking paper. It said something like, "I want Nicole to have the house. She deserves it." It was dated 8 months before Grandma died. 2 months after the actual deed transfer had already happened. My lawyer and I appeared in court for the hearing. Nicole wore black and looked appropriately sad. Her lawyer presented the note dramatically. He talked about oral contracts and family promises. He made it sound like Grandma had changed her mind after transferring the deed. The judge was an older woman with glasses. She examined the note carefully. She looked at the date. Then she asked to see the deed documentation. Mr. Harrison presented everything. The quitclaim deed with Grandma's signature. The notary verification. The county recording with official stamps. All dated before Nicole's mysterious note. The judge looked at Nicole's lawyer. Then at Nicole. "This document is irrelevant," she said calmly. "The property was legally transferred before this note was allegedly written. Even if this note is genuine, it has no legal standing. Case dismissed." We walked out of that courtroom and I finally breathed. The buyer Nicole had lined up pulled out immediately. He'd done a title search after hearing about the legal issues. He discovered Nicole wasn't the owner and wanted nothing to do with the situation. The realtor dropped her as a client. She left Nicole a voicemail saying she couldn't represent someone in a fraudulent transaction. I know because Nicole posted about it online. She tried to spin it as dealing with family drama, but people weren't buying it anymore. The gossip spread fast. Our small town loved drama, especially when it involved someone like Nicole who'd always seemed perfect. I heard the whispers at the grocery store. At the coffee shop. "Did you hear about the Quinn girl? Tried to sell her grandmother's house, but it wasn't even hers. Can you imagine? Fraud in the family." The screenshots Tyler had posted were shared everywhere. People talked about Nicole's real intentions. Her perfect reputation started cracking. Her phone started ringing. Probably journalists or nosy people asking questions. She tried calling me 27 times in one day. I watched my phone light up over and over. I didn't answer once. I blocked her number and went back to my life. She didn't deserve my time anymore. Nicole worked for a corpo rate firm downtown. Big building, important clients, strict policies. They had integrity clauses in their employment contracts. Employees had to maintain certain standards of behavior. I remembered her bragging about those policies. How her company only hired the best people. People with character. I made a decision. I anonymously reported the situation to her company's human resources department. I didn't lie or exaggerate. I just stated facts. Nicole had attempted to fraudulently sell property she didn't own. There was court documentation. There were witnesses. There was proof. 2 weeks later, I heard through family gossip that Nicole had been put on administrative leave. Her company was conducting an internal investigation. They took fraud seriously, even when it was personal. Her social media presence changed immediately. She deleted most of her posts. Then she posted one carefully worded update. Taking a mental health break, it said, with a pink heart emoji. Self-care is so important. Thank you for your understanding. Right. Mental health break. Everyone could read between the lines. She'd been suspended and was trying to save face. The comments on that post were telling. Most people just left hearts. Nobody asked what happened. They already knew. Nicole didn't stop. She actually doubled down. She filed a civil lawsuit against me for emotional damages and financial harm. Her lawyer argued that I deliberately sabotaged her sale and caused her public embarrassment. That I'd damaged her reputation and cost her money. The lawsuit was ridiculous, but it still meant more court dates. More lawyers. More stress. My lawyer wasn't worried though. She's desperate, Mr. Harrison told me. This is going to backfire badly. He was right. In court, he presented everything methodically. The deed proving my ownership. The timeline showing Grandma's clear intentions. The screenshots of Nicole's posts bragging about flipping the house. The documentation of her renovations done without owner permission. Her attempted fraud. The judge looked increasingly annoyed as the hearing went on. When Nicole's lawyer finished his argument, the judge didn't even deliberate. This lawsuit is frivolous, she said flatly. The plaintiff has no legal standing. Case dismissed. Then she added something that made my day. The defendant is entitled to recover legal fees from the plaintiff. Nicole went pale. She owed me money now. Thousands of dollars in legal fees. She'd tried to destroy me and ended up destroying herself. We left the courthouse and I felt lighter than I had in months. But Nicole had damaged the house. She'd ripped out the beautiful clawfoot tub Grandma had loved. The one she'd taken bubble baths in for 40 years. Gone. The original wooden moldings around the doorways. Painted over in that trendy gray. The vintage light fixtures. Replaced with cheap modern ones from a hardware store. I walked through the house after getting official confirmation of my ownership. Every room felt wrong. Like someone had taken Grandma's home and tried to erase her from it. I sat on the floor in the empty living room and cried. Not sad tears. Angry tears. But then I made a decision. I would fix this. I would restore the house to what it was. Not for Nicole. Not to prove anything. For me. For Grandma. For the memories that mattered. I started researching vintage fixtures and period-appropriate paint colors. I found a contractor who specialized in historic restoration. I started a blog documenting the process. Just simple posts with photos and descriptions. Bringing Grandma's house back to life, I called it. It was therapeutic. Each repair felt like healing something broken. People started following the blog. Strangers who appreciated restoration work. Who understood what it meant to preserve history. Meanwhile, Nicole's life was falling apart. The people she'd manipulated and charmed her whole life started seeing through her. They'd watched the family drama unfold publicly. They'd seen her lies exposed in court. They'd witnessed her desperation. Old friends stopped inviting her to things. Family members kept their distance. Even our parents seemed less sure of her. It wasn't because I said anything. I never bad-mouthed her to anyone. I didn't have to. People saw everything for themselves. They watched her try to sell property she didn't own. They watched her lose lawsuits and her job. They watched her reputation crumble. One by one, people cut her off. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Invitations stopped coming. Phone calls went unanswered. She became invisible. Nicole posted a story on social media. I saw it before blocking her completely. Some people only support you when you're winning, it said. The caption dripped with victimhood. But everyone could see the truth. She was losing. She'd been losing since the moment she decided to steal from her own sister. Since the moment she underestimated the quiet girl who'd actually earned what she had. The girl she'd always thought was too weak to fight back. She sent me a long message. It came through email since I'd blocked her everywhere else. The subject line said, "Please read this." I almost deleted it immediately. But curiosity won. The message was pages long. It started with apologies. How sorry she was. How she'd been stressed and made mistakes. How grief had clouded her judgment. Then it shifted to half-truths. Explanations that twisted the facts. She claimed she genuinely believed Grandma wanted her to have the house. That she'd misunderstood the situation. That I'd overreacted by involving lawyers. Then came the emotional manipulation. "We're sisters," she wrote. "Family is supposed to forgive each other. Grandma would want us to work this out." She invoked Grandma's name like it was a magic word. Like it would make me forget everything she'd done. She ended with more apologies. More promises to do better. More requests for a chance to talk in person. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. No response. I didn't owe her anything. Not forgiveness, not a conversation, not access to my life. She didn't get to cause destruction and then demand understanding. She didn't get to steal from me and then play the victim. I blocked her email address. Permanently. I spent 6 months restoring the house. I found the exact wallpaper pattern Grandma had loved and had it reprinted. I salvaged vintage clawfoot tubs from architectural salvage yards until I found one that matched. I carefully removed the gray paint from the doorway where my height marks had been. Some of them were still visible underneath. I traced over them lovingly. The house came back to life. It looked like Grandma again. But I knew I couldn't keep it. Not because of Nicole. Because I needed to move forward too. I decided to sell it at an open auction with complete transparency. I hired an ethical realtor who specialized in estate sales. We marketed it honestly as a restored historic home with family history. The story got picked up by local news. People loved it. The house that one sister tried to steal, restored by the sister who actually owned it. Auction day came and the house was packed with bidders. The energy was incredible. People weren't just buying a house. They were buying a story. A legacy. The bidding went higher and higher. The house sold for double what Nicole had asked. I used the proceeds to pay for graduate school. Something I'd put off for years because I couldn't afford it. I heard about Nicole through our mother. Mom called me one evening, her voice sad and worried. Nicole had lost her job officially. The investigation had found ethical violations. She'd moved back in with our parents. She had no friends left. Her social media following had disappeared. People had unfollowed in droves. "She asks about you," Mom said quietly. "She wants to talk." I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, no anger. Just nothing. "I don't want to talk to her," I said simply. "She made her choices." Mom sighed. "She's your sister." "She stopped being my sister when she tried to steal from me," I replied. "When she tried to erase Grandma's memory for money." Mom didn't argue. What could she say? Later, I heard more details from Tyler. Nicole tried calling old friends. They didn't answer. She tried reaching out to former colleagues. They kept it professional and distant. She posted occasionally on social media, but the engagement was gone. The perfect life she'd curated had completely collapsed. She thought she owned everything, Tyler told me. Turns out, she owned nothing at all. He was right. Nicole had lost everything because she tried to take what wasn't hers. Because she underestimated the quiet sister who'd actually done the work. My name is still Melanie Quinn. I'm still the quiet one. But I learned something important through all of this. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to remember who I was. To remember what I'd earned and what I deserved. Grandma saw me when nobody else did. She saw past Nicole's performance to the truth underneath. She saw which granddaughter actually cared. Which one showed up. Which one loved her without an audience. She made sure I was protected. She gave me that deed because she trusted me to do the right thing. This was never about a house. Houses are just buildings. It was about knowing your worth. About standing up when someone tries to take what's yours. About not letting people walk over you just because they're louder or prettier or more confident. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped letting Nicole cross mine. I built boundaries and protected them. I documented truth and let it speak for itself. I finished graduate school with honors. I started a career I love. I built a life based on real things, not performances. Sometimes I drive past the house's new address. The family who bought it takes good care of it. I can see Grandma's wallpaper through the windows. That's enough. That's everything.